Welcome to another episode of Alpha Intuition Podcast, where I'm here to help you to become the CEO of your life. I'm your host, Keisha L. Blair, aka Keisha the Electrician. And if this is your first time watching, please make sure that you like and subscribe and share this with someone that you think you almost like. Now, Alpha Intuition family, I have a very special guest for you today, who is the proof, living proof that where you start does not determine where you have to finish. He's a proud son of Baltimore who began his career as an IBEW apprentice, learning how skills, discipline, and purpose can shape your future. The same path took him from the job site to the Maryland State Senate, where he now serves as the only member of the General Assembly to come up through the trades. Along the way, he became a trusted voice for working families, using his platform to create real change. He's also a father, husband, and author of the soon-to-be-released book, The Apprenticeship That Saved My Life, a powerful story of how purpose, persistence, and belief can transform not just one life, but generations to come. Alpha Intuition family, it is my honor to welcome to this platform a fellow IBEW electrician, Senator Cory McCray. Mr. McCray, how are you today?
I just want to say I'm humble. I'm honored to be able to share this platform and be able to share this moment with you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so very much. Now, I want to know, do you want me to call you Cory? Do you want me to call you Senator?
Call me Cory. Please call me Cory. Please call me Cory.
Okay. All right. And look, and I think about when I climb the corporate ladder, how sometimes people see us differently than what we see ourselves. Mm-hmm. And as a senior manager, people were calling me Ms. Blair. I'm like, please don't call me that. That's what people call my mother. I'm just Keisha. So nice to meet you, Mr. Cory.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're just going to get right into it, because I know people are probably wondering, what are we going to talk about? Well, as two fellow electricians, what I really want to start off is knowing about your journey. And I want you to tell me about just your experience going through the trades.
Keisha, I tell folks that I grew up in an urban jurisdiction, the city of Baltimore, like a number of our young folks that's grown up in urban jurisdictions. But I'm born and raised in the city. I graduated in Baltimore. High schools is a big deal. So I graduated from Fairmont Harford, right there on Harford and 25th. I tell folks, by the grace of God, I had a mom that did not give up on her son. My mom actually reached out to the Maryland Department of Labor, said, send me every apprenticeship program in the state of Maryland. She said, Cory, please go fill out applications. I fill out the application, and luckily I'm accepted into the IBEW apprenticeship. Keisha, I had no clue what I was walking into. I never known anything about electrical work, anybody in my space that had done this before, but I did take a risk and I did take a chance. And luckily I did take that chance, because it took me out of the 4 blocks that I was so familiar with and exposed me and gave me access to so much more. I tell folks, not only did I go through that 5-year apprenticeship program, but I also became an entrepreneur. While going through the program, instead of buying a new car, buying Lincolns, Lexuses, and things of that nature, I saved up my raise, and every year I would buy a house. I graduated from the apprenticeship. I looked up, I had 7 homes and a multi-unit from that standpoint. Keisha, I tell folks that I wasn't familiar with politics, because if you look me up in like the van file is what we call it, to see who votes and who doesn't vote, you will find that I was one of the people that didn't vote. My attitude towards government or elected officials was, they leave me alone, I leave them alone. I just couldn't see my return on investment or what they were doing for my neighborhoods. So I just said, hey, you stay over there, I'll stay over there. But Keisha, one of the things that I realized was, if I was serious about changing trajectory in my neighborhood, when I looked to my left and to my right, a number of the folks that I grew up with, my peers, were not across the same finish line. And while my first intent when going through the apprenticeship was just figuring out, like, how do you make a buck, I realized that the true measure of success is not Cory McCray winning, it's how do I bring as many people as possible across that finish line. I think that you do that by 2 things. I think that you have the conversation and speak about generational wealth, but I also think that it's a conversation that's necessary about removing arbitrary barriers that have been placed intentionally in front of folks' way, whether that's through local, state, or federal government. And I feel like I'm serving my purpose, because we've passed over 100 bills in the 10 plus years that I've been there. This book, The Apprenticeship That Saved My Life, is simply 20 years of knowledge capture that I've learned going through this process of the apprenticeship, and try my best to share that information with these young people that need it so much. But not just the young folks. I think about the teachers. I think about the guidance counselors. I think about the parents, mentors, that we both know that apprenticeships is a good thing. And most people, I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, they will say apprenticeships is a good thing. But if you ask them 3 sentences, expound 3 things that you know about apprenticeships, most folks will go blank. And that way we can share, where do you find this information? What's some of the lessons that me and you learned? What's some of the things that we wish that we knew as we were navigating this process? How do you map it? How do you think about this? I'll stop talking right there because I know you got some questions. But born and raised in the city of Baltimore, try my best to grab as many people across that finish line with me is how I would sum that up.
No, I love it. All this is great because everything that you just said is something that I've tried to work hard to change too over my last 30 years. Being a woman in the skilled trades, I've experienced some things, but I'm sure being a Black man, you've experienced some things as well. And it's just like I think about what's something that I could have done differently, or what would I have needed back then to help me along the way. So when I saw your book that you have completed called The Apprenticeship That Saved My Life, I'm like, this has to be amazing for someone to tell that story and that same journey, because you're not just you're just like me. You used it as a stepping stone and not a plateau. And that's what I want people to try to understand as well. So I want to ask you, so what was the turning point for you to where you realized, okay, I can do something different with this apprenticeship program?
Well, Keisha, I've been hustling all my life. And I tell folks that, growing up in the city of Baltimore, there are a number of challenges as soon as you walk out the door. And unfortunately, I had fell and succumbed to my own thing. Just I didn't have the mental strength to be able to overcome the things that I saw when I walked out the front door. So I was engaged in our juvenile system. I was engaged in our adult system as a juvenile from that standpoint. But one of the things that really drew me as a young person was the wage, and someone clearly articulating and laying out, hey, you'll start off at, and this is 20 plus years ago, you'll start off at 12. But if you do what you're supposed to do, next year you'll make 15, then you'll make 18, then you'll make 21 until it matriculated up to $32 an hour. Now it's upside down. It's like $47 a package at this moment. But what happens then is I couldn't believe it. I thought they were hustling me. I'm like, well, what's the hustle? Why are you going to pay me to go to school? Why are you going to pay me this wage to learn this trade? And what do you get out of the deal? Because that's what I'm used to, some type of gimmick. But I realized that there are employers that love that business model is to have a skilled, trained workforce. And they're paying top tier dollars and educating these folks to make sure that they have that skilled workforce. So once they start making that investment, they don't want to lose that investment, because now they're not going to have as high turnover if they're paying you what you're worth from that standpoint. So once I got past that part and just making sure, because most folks, when they graduate from high school, they're just trying to figure out what is my next step. I didn't think about healthcare. I got 4 kids right now. I got a Kennedy, Reagan, CJ, and Bryson. And every time I look, it's a $20, $30, $40 bill coming at my door. But imagine if I didn't have the healthcare. Now that I'm at the other side of this thing, or the middle of it, I should say, that thinking about retirement, having an annuity, having a pension. Pensions are like dinosaurs. It's non-existent at the moment, but we still do have one. So I'll have the ability to retire with dignity. I have the ability to not go broke from healthcare, like we see a number of different families. But more importantly, the thing that grabbed me at a young age was the wage structure, and them clearly articulating, if you do this, have a good attitude, come willing to work, that you'll start here and you'll end here. And then I figured out it wasn't a hustle.
Yes, absolutely. And I don't think I ever thought about it as being a hustle. But when you said $12, I'm like, wow. When I started out making $6.50 an hour back in August of 1995. So this is actually my 30 years. This month.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I mean, $6.50. It's like, what are you going to do with that? Now kids look at that and just laugh. You probably can't even buy a bag of potato chips with $6.50. But like you said, I knew that if I completed that year and I showed up for work every day, it was going to be more money in my pocket that next year. And when I finished, that's what we call completing the program. For those that you don't know, it's called turning out. And when I turned out in 2000, I went immediately and got my journeyman's license so that I could make myself more marketable. Then I used the money that I was making to purchase a home for my children. Nice. Then what I decided to do was to take that money and to go back to college and to get my degree. So I try to share with kids the same stories, that it's not that I'm saying don't go to college. College is, if you think that it's an option, that's fine. But there's a way that you can do it and still be debt free. So that's what I like to share with young people. But your story is utterly amazing. So let's talk about the power of earn while you learn, and how you thought that concept helped you along the way.
Yeah, when I think about earn while you learn, so we went to school one day every 2 weeks. And what we did was we got a stipend when we would get your first year, you would get $50, second year, you get $60, third year, you got $70. So I actually, while people are paying to go to school, they're paying me to go to school, which I thought was like very reversal. But I just didn't really understand that concept because it wasn't talked about in my high school or things of that nature. And what happens is the earn while you learn is so important. And I tell folks in my first year, I had a little bit of a challenge, and I walked through this in the book. One of the things that I spoke about was that I was somewhat removed from high school. So I did not do a great job graduating from high school. I did the bare minimum. But at the end of the day, you did need to understand algebra. And it wasn't like I wasn't smart, Keisha. I just hadn't applied myself in the right way. And I looked, the thing was, if you fail three tests, you were removed from the program. And I failed two my first year. And I can remember going to the first year instructor, Horace Ellis at that time, and him saying, well, I've never seen you in my coach class. And I said, you are so right. I had never been to the coach class, and I moved in the space that I was supposed to move as soon as I started going to the coach class. How it worked in our apprenticeship was if you got a 93 average, you actually got your book money back. So the only thing you had to pay for was your book money. My third year of the apprenticeship, I actually studied and worked so hard that I now was applying myself, and I got my book money back. So I got serious about this, but I knew that so much was at risk. I didn't want to let my mom down, who had fought so hard for her son. I knew that my family was counting on me to like not get in trouble and to like figure this out. And I just kept sticking with it. But the most important thing, and I'll start right there, was the mentorship that I was getting the 5 years to going through that apprenticeship. I learned about work ethic. I learned about showing up on time. You laugh because it was like, hey, I know he's going to show up on time as the electrician.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is I learned that showing up wasn't showing up at 7 o'clock job stop. It's showing up at 6:30 or 6:45 a.m. versus like nobody had taught me these simple fundamentals that I was able to learn in that apprenticeship and love to expound as we asked them more questions.
Yeah, no, and I love that. So jokingly, when I got up from my desk and it was about 10 minutes till, and I said, I know I need to be back at least 5 minutes till because he is going to be on time. Most people will show up right on time. And I'm like, I already know I'm surprised he's not here yet because that's just, it's born and bred in us. It's engraved. Like we put engravings on our tools so nobody will take them. We engrave that in us. It's like it's something that we've learned that we've never forgotten. Anytime I have an appointment, I put it in my schedule 15 minutes early, just so I know that I won't be late. So mentally, in my mind, that's what time I'm supposed to be there. So it's just something that we've learned how to do. And I don't think people understand how critical or how crucial it is to have that training growing up for a child. Now, let me ask you this. So how old were you when your mother started giving you those pamphlets about the apprenticeship programs?
I was about 20 years of age, Yep.
Okay, I think that's it. I started when I was 20 or 21. Well, I'm 30, so 21 years old is when I started. Just told my age, I'm 51, but I'm cool with that. At 20 years old, like you said, you really didn't think about that. You didn't think about the family. You didn't think about the future. You were just like, okay, what am I going to do? So out of all the apprenticeships out there, what made you decide to choose the electrical IBEW apprenticeship?
Well, when I think about it, I think it's the wage. I'll go back to it. Like I was young, trying to make some money and trying to figure out the wage component. And I think that I was just trying to get into anyone that was available. Like I said, I'd gotten in a number of trouble, challenges, and needed to take myself and remove myself out of the environment, that 4 blocks that I was growing up in, the 4 blocks that I was so used to, and figure out something constructive and productive to do with my time.
Mm-hmm. So when you decided to go, now I'm not gonna, I'll tell you about mine after. So let's say your first week of work, how did you feel about being on a construction site? And I don't know, and then also tell me how many days and hours did you work on your first project?
Yeah. So the first project I speak to is a parking garage right there in the city of Baltimore. And I can remember like the walls weren't up. It's cold outside. I'd never been outside that long in the cold. I think we ended up getting heat warmers for my feet because I was like, look, I ain't used to this from that standpoint. And we worked a little bit of time. So we worked some Saturdays and things of that nature. But it was in the city. So like I was familiar with it. I can remember my mom kind of laying it out and saying, hey, here's like the route, here's where you go at, here's maybe where you park at, things of that nature. So like trying to figure it out. I can vaguely remember some of the points.
Yeah. So my first project was 712s.
Oh wow. Oh,
7 days a week, my very first project. So first day, first year apprentice, and I'm working 7. I got, after about the first week, I was like, what am I getting myself into for $6.50 an hour? This is so not for me. And then on top of that, my son was only 9 months.
Oh wow.
So I had just had a baby. I was a little more heavier than what I think I was, like 250 pounds. So it was just like, oh my goodness, standing up all day for 12 hours. Like what, who does this? This is crazy.
712.
Yes. And the very first thing they did was put me in the material shed. So I had I didn't even realize I had an advantage over most apprentices because I had an opportunity to learn what all the tools and the material was as a first year apprentice. That was huge. So that's something that I share with apprentices now. If you can get into the material shed, that's the best place for you to be.
Yep. Now you hit all the points in reference to just the ability to learn each and every piece of equipment, tools, things of that nature is one of the best learning experiences. I've actually done that too. And it's one of the best learning experiences.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's talk about the book. What made you decide to say, you know what, I think I'm going to write this guide, this memoir and this manual for upcoming electricians?
You know what? It was resting on me. Keisha, I try my best to stay in one of my schools, period, once a week. So I'm talking to like 30 young people at a time. But I'm always a person that realized that life is short. The greatest asset that we have is time. What are we doing with our time efficiently and effectively to help others and add value to others? So one of the things that I was just processing was like, how can I talk to 300? How can I talk to 3,000 and share like what so much that I learned? I'll give you one example. We do college tours. And things of that nature. But the question that I asked was, why don't we do apprenticeship tours? So for the last 5-6 years within our school system, we've been doing these apprenticeship tours where young folks will get on the bus. They'll tour the carpenters, the electricians, the plumbers and steam fitters, the operating engineers, and be able to break down that level of nervousness that it's nervous for adults to walk into a building for the first time. So imagine one of our young scholars walking into a building for the first time. The other thing is we can teach subtle things like cultivation of relationships. Hey, who's the training director? Who's the assistant training director? You now have an edge because you have a relationship and you can go back and say, hey, you remember when I came on that apprenticeship tour, Mr. Wilford or Miss Blair, and if they really good, they'll then send an email or letter to follow up with that training director, say, hey, I'm really interested in your program, looking forward to graduating and having a deeper discussion into that conversation. But those are some of the things that I've learned over this period of time to be able to share with folks. How do you map? You asked me the question, like, how do you find the electricians? Let's say that you map your top 3 or 4. What's some of the requirements that they may have? Do they have algebra? Are they requesting a high school diploma or GED? Do they ask for the 1 year of algebra? Do they ask for a driver's license? Things of that nature. So like getting them to start writing it down, starting to provoke thought to be able to say, like, what is my next steps? What are my next steps from there?
I love that. So if you think back to your apprenticeship days, and even into becoming a newer journeyman, what would you say was probably the most difficult thing that you had to do?
It's a couple things that I speak to. One of them is discipline. We talked about that early on, like just focus, just discipline. Like this is serious, Cory, and like take it serious from day one. And some of the things you have to learn on your own, but I wish that I didn't have to like get so close to the edge and possibly fall off the edge with those 2 areas. The other thing is that you're going to find strong people that you work around, but it's an 80-20 rule in life. So there will be difficult people. And how do you handle and manage difficult people to work with? Because it's not going to be eternity that you're working with that respective person. So take advantage of when you're around that journey person, whoever he or she may be, and make sure that you absorb those life lessons that you're able to learn, but also recognizing that everybody's not going to be the same. You will get around difficult people, and you have to mentally know how to handle something like that. And we do have a chapter in there just called Working with Difficult People.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. So how many chapters are in the book, and which chapter is your favorite?
Oh, I've never been asked this question. So there are 10 chapters plus an introduction, and I still have to figure out. You're going to make me think about that, which one is my favorite. And it depends on who I'm talking to and what lesson. We talk about difficult people. We talk about finding the apprenticeship. We talk about mapping the apprenticeship. We talk about mentorship in it. We talk about entrepreneurship in it. We talk about some state policy stuff from that standpoint. So like there are a number, I guess it depends on who I'm talking to at that moment. But maybe let's say the introduction. I love my mom so much, and I try my best to give her so much praise in helping me find that path. So maybe we'll go with like the first chapter, the introduction, just kind of laying it out and laying the foundation.
Okay, I know that's almost like ask you which one of your children is your favorite, right? Depends on which one you're talking to in that moment. It's like, you're my favorite right now. You know what I mean? But it could be your sister tomorrow. I get that 100%. All right. So the book is going to be released September 30th.
September 30th, the big day.
Yes, it's the big day. So do you have any, and I'm skipping ahead on some of my questions. I'm just curious, do you have any big events coming up to where you're going to have like a book release party or anything like that?
Yep. So right now we are the big book release is September 29th, 7 p.m. Right here in the city of Baltimore at our main library. I know I'll be in Boston. I believe the 8th of October. We'll do something over at the AFL-CIO with Liz Schuler in DC that first week. From that standpoint. So it's a number of things being planned at the moment to be able to make sure that the apprenticeship that saved my life gets in as many people's hands, especially these young people.
Absolutely. I'm gonna try to be a part of that as much as I've already purchased I pre-ordered my 5 copies. So I'm gonna put this up here and then I'm like, I had to stop myself at 5 because I'm like, okay, let me just stop because I want to be able to make sure that I'm intentional about who I give these books to. But I know this is going to help so many people. So I'm just gonna put your information right up on the screen.
You know what, Keisha? I think about like the electricians or folks that have went through the trades, that have went through an apprenticeship program, and when they see the title, they feel like it's their journey. And that's like, so it hit different for me because like so many folks will say, that's my story. And then they'll start going into how did they find out about it? And like folks aren't finding out the traditional way that you should find out about it. And that's what we're trying to break down, that access and exposure so that each and everyone knows about it. The apprenticeship program that I went through was 20 minutes from my house. How did I not know about an opportunity that's in the same city, 20 minutes just on the other side of town, 20 minutes from my house? It's crazy.
Yeah. And when I was in high school, I didn't even know about Apprentice because we had like vocational classes, but we didn't have anything that told us about the apprenticeship programs. And my brother, he's an electrician. He's IBEW local. I think it's 111 out of Pasadena.
Okay.
And he actually told me about the apprenticeship when I was in Memphis. So I went to local 474 out of Memphis, Tennessee, and started my apprenticeship. But just like you said, I was 21 at that point. Had I been 18, by the time I was 23, I would have already been, making more money than what I had been. So my goal right now is I tell as many kids as possible, and I said, it's in your school, it's probably called CTE. A lot of them don't even know what that is or what it stands for. So that's what career technology education. Yep. So in order to get them to understand that, you don't even realize that's skilled trades.
Yep.
Right. So I try to just enlighten the children on this is what you need to be doing. And this, I promise you, can make you 6 figures by the time you're 23 years old. So yeah, I try to share that with them. And all right. So now my next question for you is, what are some of the leadership lessons that you learned in the field that you now use in the Senate?
Yeah. Some of it is, and I feel like I'm on a hot seat. You like my next
question. I'm so
sorry. But some of the leadership lessons, we talked about work ethic. Like work ethic is so important. It helps you to stand apart. I tell folks, nobody's going to outwork me. And it just helps you to stand so apart. The other thing that I just think about is just the relationships. Like, I just didn't understand how important relationships are. And I think work ethic gets you so far, but you have to get in the door. And the relationship is what's going to get you in the door. It's the work ethic that's going to keep you through the door is some of the things that I think about. Discipline, like I really had to lock in. I really had to sharpen my focus and make sure that I was disciplined and navigate the schooling piece of the apprenticeship. And then the other thing that I think about is like, if you really thinking about like the true like measure, just fulfilling of life, I think it's just giving. And I think it's giving back. So what happens is I keep telling folks, and I'll say it again, like I'm blessed. I tell folks I'm blessed 10 times over. And one of the things that I feel like is my responsibility is once you've been blessed is to continue to keep sharing those blessings, share that information, do not hold it hostage, make sure that you're bringing as many people. So from a leadership standpoint, it's just understanding that when you give, it's always going to come back to you tenfold from that standpoint because you're paying it forward from there. So like those are some of the things: discipline, work ethic, and just the ability and the power of giving.
Mm-hmm. So do you find now, I know every apprenticeship, there's always some sayings that journeymen have. Do you find yourself saying some of those sayings at work that you learned when you were on the construction side, like measure twice, cut once, or
measure twice, cut once? You know, that's like a life principle too. That's like a life principle when you think about it. I remember, you know, a number of folks like you miss every shot you don't take. Like it's so many things that's there. But yes, I do find myself not just thinking about it, processing it, but also applying.
Yeah. So and I know I post some things, and I don't know what made me start doing this. I woke up one day and I said, you know what, I'm just going to start talking about some of the sayings that we have on the construction site. So I post them on LinkedIn sometime. And I think I posted something where I said, your bone pile tells your story.
Oh, they had to know. They would have to know that one. Yeah.
Yes. So I figured people who are craftsmen will understand this saying. When I say your bone pile tells your story, when we're bending pipe, every time you messed up, it goes into a pile. Yep. Sometimes your pile can be so big, some people will come by and play little jokes on you and put a paper up with an address on it and say, you may as well live here because you've been here for a minute, you know. So just little things like that. So, but those were just leadership lessons, like you talked about, communication and building that relationship and that rapport with people to where you understand each other just a little bit better from those little lessons that we learned.
Yep.
All right. So I know we talked about just some of the upcoming projects that you have. You have this new book that's coming out. You have done so many wonderful things. You went from an apprentice to a state senator. So what's next for you?
You know what? Right now, my focus has always been on 4 children. I talked about Kennedy, Reagan, CJ, and Bryson, 18, 16, 11, and 10. And Keisha, each and every day, I'm trying my best to process how do you raise good human beings. I look at the way our country is at the moment, and I think that the best thing that I can do is like just contribute and pour into them in the way that I may not have always had these types of opportunities, so that we can make sure that it's just expounding and making sure that you're just thinking about what does it look like contributing to not just your city, your state, but more importantly, your country.
That's right. I love that. And for tiny humans, it's always a pleasure to see us in someone else, even when we tell them, I know you better than you know yourself, because half of you belongs to me. They don't even understand what we're saying when we say that.
Right.
So, and now you said you have your oldest who just started college.
Yep.
How has that experience been for the senator, to where you have your daughter who's now entering college?
You know what? It's just a real experience. It's new family dynamics, someone leaving a house, just processing. Like, life does really go by quick. And did you do as much as you can? Did you instill into this person all the lessons possible and use it as effectively so that they make good choices, and like I said, just contribute to something greater than them?
Yeah, that's huge. All right, so I got 2 more questions. The first one is going to be for all of the young people out there who are going to be watching this, who are going to have your book in their hands. What's one thing that you want to leave them with?
You know what? I hope that you use this as a guidebook, as a blueprint to be able to hold on to be able to come back to continuously, just to be able to motivate you, to be able to help you see the board more clear. I tell folks, play chess, not checkers. Like really, really unpack and dig into, and just know how great you are. Like when I walk into these classrooms, I let them know that I believe in you, I see you, I hear you, and I believe that you are great. So like each and every person that touches this book, just knowing that I just share with you as much information as I have, as much as I have, and give every gift that I have, because I know what your potential is, and hoping that you reach your fullest potential in the things that you can't even imagine.
That's beautiful. I love that. That is, man, young people, you can see it right here and it's real. From an apprentice making $12 an hour to the Senate in Maryland. I mean, if you don't believe in the power of apprenticeships, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't. And I look at my journey, like from electrician executive to entrepreneur, but to go just to use that as a stepping stone, to get to the state Senate, to where you can make real change. You know, my goal was to climb the corporate ladder, where I'm like, okay, I want to be able to not just be a technician, but to help technicians instill certain things and to help them understand, but to do it from a state level, that is major, that is huge. So I thank you for your service. I thank you for everything that you have done for my culture, for my generation, for the apprentices that are going to be coming up, that are going to have this book in their hands. It is definitely going to change lives. So thank you so much for that.
And thank you for just, giving the opportunity to share your platform, to be able to make sure that more voices, more ears, more people hear and get the message. I can't thank you enough.
Oh, I appreciate that. All right. Now, this is my last question that I have for you. I ask every guest on this show. The name of my podcast called Alpha Intuition. When you hear that phrase, what does it mean to you?
I just think it's like being your best, like being on your game and making sure that you're mentally, making sure that you're focused, making sure that you're locked in, you're intentional about the direction that you're going.
Absolutely. Thank you. And it always makes me curious to know what other people hear or what they think when they hear that. So thank you for that. This has been such an amazing show. I know we could probably chop it up and talk shop talk for ever, but
like we in the break room,
exactly. Eating lunch, trying to figure out how we're gonna wash our hands. Well, Cory, I thank you so very much. I really do. And you guys look forward to September 30th. I'm going to put this
September 30th, big day.
That's the big day. If you guys are in the DMV area, you make sure that you show up at one of these locations. Where did you say it's the release party is going to be? At the library?
The main library, Cathedral Street, September 29th, 7 p.m. The Apprenticeship that saved my life. And Keisha, if I can end with this, like this is going to be so humbling for me, because I can remember we didn't go on vacations when I was little, but like we did participate in this program called the Race to Read. And me and my little sister had not only participated, but we had won. And it was a big deal for us to be able to go to the main library branch in downtown Baltimore, get out of our neighborhood. The mayor was there, the state's attorney was there, everybody was there. And I can remember being 9 or 10 years old as a student. So to come back, it'll be like a homecoming, to be able to come back to a space that I've always treasured, always seen as a light, and now come and sit as an author.
I love that. So, and let me ask you one more question. I forgot to ask you. September 30th, why did you pick that date as your release date?
I think that we were just trying to make sure that we stayed in a space that was comfortable and it was enough time. So September 30th, no symbolic, but it will always be a day that I remember in 2025 where I did something that I did not know was possible.
That's right, 9/30/25, and it's truly an inspiration for me. I'm in the process of writing my book right now.
Nice.
Yeah, it just tells my journey actually from being an electrician to an executive and into my journey of entrepreneurship. So hopefully I can use that to accompany your book when people, once they get through the apprenticeship, what do I do now if I decide I want to do something else with my life? So you're truly an inspiration to me and so many others. So thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, guys, I know we could talk forever, but once again, we have come to the end of the show. So I want to tell you guys one more time, if this is your first time watching, please make sure that you like and subscribe. And if you like the information that you heard today, make sure that you go and get this book. You can go and pre-order it right now. It will be down in the comments, and I'm also going to put it in the information in the description so you guys can go and purchase this book today, because this will be a New York Times bestseller. It is going to sell out. You guys, if you don't get it right now on pre-order, y'all going to be mad that you didn't get it, because you're going to have to wait for it past September 30th. So I got my 5 copies, and I'm only sharing with a few people. So you guys, thank you so much for rocking with me. I appreciate you guys. And remember, the journey to the top of any mountain begins with one single step. Don't stop, keep climbing. I'll see y'all later. Peace.